Iran's Khamenei maintains tough rhetoric with US despite nuclear talks. Tehran's chief diplomat says some guiding principles are agreed, but the supreme leader presents a different tone. Tehran, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has shot back at United States President Donald Trump and cast a pessimistic tone on negotiations with his administration, even as Iran's foreign minister says an understanding on the guiding principles of a deal has been reached. The 86-year-old Khamenei said on Tuesday that Trump admitted that the U.S. has tried to bring down the theocratic establishment in Iran since the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution but has failed. "This is a good confession. You will not be able to do this either," Khamenei said in an apparent reference to the U.S. president telling reporters this week that a change in government would be the best thing that could happen in Iran. Khamenei also used religious symbolism to draw parallels with figures who fought against Shia Muslim imams more than 1,350 years ago to cast doubt on any meaningful rapprochement with the U.S. today. He said the Iranian nation will not pledge allegiance to corrupt leaders like those who are in power in America today based on religious beliefs. "They say let us negotiate over your nuclear energy, and the result of the negotiation should be that you must not have this energy," Khamenei said before adding that if any real negotiations were to take place, they cannot be predicated on any foolish demand that Iran move to zero enrichment of uranium. His comments came hours before a statement made by Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi after the conclusion of indirect talks with the US in Geneva. "I can say, compared to the last round, we've had very serious discussions, and there was a constructive atmosphere where we exchanged our point of view," Araghchi told reporters after the talks. "Those ideas were discussed, and we came to some agreements and some guiding principles. We will eventually draft a document. We are hopeful we can achieve this." The message from the Iranian negotiating team through state media on Tuesday was that Tehran is serious about the indirect talks mediated by Oman and wants to see results, particularly the lifting of harsh U.S. sanctions imposed after Trump in 2018 unilaterally withdrew from a nuclear deal that Iran had reached with world powers 3 years earlier. For the U.S., which was also holding parallel talks with Ukraine and Russia in Switzerland, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner acted as lead representatives. Both teams had separate meetings with Omani Foreign Minister Badr bin Hamad al-Busaidi as well as Rafael Grossi, the director of the International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA, who will have to lead any potential future inspection missions of Iranian nuclear sites bombed by the U.S. in June during a 12-day war between Israel and Iran. Washington has insisted that no uranium enrichment may take place inside Iran. It has also said Tehran must hand over its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, which are believed to be buried under the rubble of the U.S. airstrikes in June, and limit its missile program. Along with Israel, the U.S. has sought an end to Iran's support for the Axis of Resistance, the armed groups it backs in Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen and Palestine. All these demands have been rejected by Iran, which said they cross red lines and undermine the country's rights and security. Instead, the Iranian team has proposed to dilute the uranium and to include the U.S. in the potential economic benefits of any agreement. Addressing a meeting of the leaders of the Iran Chamber of Commerce on Sunday, Deputy Foreign Minister for Political Affairs Hamid Ghanbari said the Trump administration would have to be offered deals in areas with high economic output that can be achieved quicker. He suggested Iran could sell energy to the U.S., work on joint oil and gas fields and minerals, or even buy aircraft from the U.S., but he did not say how Tehran believed such agreements could be achieved given the clashing positions offered by the two sides. Iran's currency, the rial, depreciated slightly after the indirect talks in Geneva ended on Tuesday after just over 3 hours. $1 was worth about 1.63 million rials on Tuesday, near an all-time low registered last month after a deadly crackdown against nationwide anti-government protests and threats of war. It is hard to be optimistic about these negotiations that wrapped up very quickly. These are extremely complex subjects. Remember that it took 2.5 years to negotiate the 2015 nuclear deal, Ali Khamenei, director at the International Crisis Group, told Al Jazeera. These talks usually require a lot of patience, a lot of focus, a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussions with experts. So if they wrap up this quickly, this is either a sign that the negotiators don't have the patience that is required to reach an agreement, or the gaps are simply too large to bridge. Beyond the rhetoric, developments on the ground also showed the two sides are no closer to reaching an agreement. The US is still in the process of amassing soldiers and military equipment in the region, with a second aircraft carrier on the way and more air defense systems positioned in multiple countries to fight against potential Iranian missile and drone attacks in case of a conflict. Khamenei suggested Iran possesses weapons that can sink an aircraft carrier and slap th.